that, of course. Ready.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I am your host tonight, Anthony DiNardo. With me tonight, we have Jim Rosati and Tyler, a.k.a. Wagner to Hopeless. How it do, guys?
Hopeless as ever, my friend.
Hopeless as ever.
Yeah, I feel like we just talked. DiNardo.
We did. It hasn't been a whole year either. It's been the same day. How about
No,
that?
it's been like 14 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Was I just not invited?
No.
Oh, never mind. I have to work. It's a whole thing. Takes up like 8 hours of my day.
Yeah, but you work at home, right?
Oh, no, I don't. I actually go to work. Yeah.
That sucks for you.
Being a productive member of society, it's tough life.
And Tyler's essential. Me and you, not essential.
Like, we all work in the same industry, guys.
Kind of, right?
It's really not fair here. Like, what the hell?
Our people don't hate us, Tyler.
I'm not
I
a
don't get
lovable
yelled at as
person.
much as Tyler.
I don't get yelled. Oh, never mind.
Well, anyways,
I can't help it that my opinions come out of my mouth sometimes.
yeah. We've been fully aware of how sometimes people take your opinions that come out of your mouth, Tyler. No one's ever tweeted at us about Tyler.
Not many people have tweeted positive things about me.
We hear about how everyone loves Jim. Oh, I love Jim. Jim's my favorite. Oh, Jim of the North Shore 9. That's great. Oh, Tyler, that a-hole. Damn it.
That guy.
What do I do here? There's one guy that I love and the other one I hate. Yeah, wonder which one's which.
Oh, wow.
That was a real comment. Yeah.
Oh, well, guys, it is what it is.
True that.
It is what it is.
Well, the people heard Jim and myself talk about our New Year's Eve 14 hours ago. So, Tyler, why don't you enlighten us about your New Year's Eve? How did you enjoy yours?
That was so long ago.
It was a week.
Oh, gosh. I know, but it feels like it was so long ago now.
About a week ago.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't. You know what? Responsible guy here. Everyone knows I like to drink. So you'd think I'd go be at the bar, hanging out with a bunch of COVID mass spreaders. No, just hung out at the house. Responsible.
Very, very
To my
responsible
community.
of you.
Granted, every bar goes to the 10, so like, why would I go out?
So what did you do at the house? Did you do anything? Because I feel like Jim made fun of me today. Very hardcore in the most polite way possible when I told him I watched Dick Clark.
Jim might make fun of me even more. I drank a 15-pack of beer. Once I got home, stayed up till 3 a.m. and watched YouTube videos.
Honestly, that sounds better than Dick Clark. I'm with you, Tyler.
Man, you can't tell me you have never gotten down a rabbit hole on YouTube and just sat there all night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when I get down rabbit holes, it's mostly on Wikipedia. I go through like big Wikipedia rabbit holes. I don't really go on YouTube ones that often.
No, like I don't know where I started, but I ended up on like trivia sports shows and just sat there and answered questions and played against the whoever was playing it.
Well, that's
at 3 a.m.
That's why you're the smartest Pirate fan in the world.
I was really drunk.
Yeah, I watched Dick Clark live tweet a little bit. I don't know. It was just one of them chill nights. Again, like, what was I going to do? I'm just sitting home with my wife, drinking, eating Chinese.
Yep.
That's
I'm-
sad. It was
You
a
know
very
what?
sad
I
event.
think we just hit a milestone here, boys.
Why?
This might be the first drink of water you've ever seen me have on this show.
That ain't water. That's vodka. We know it.
That's water.
Crazy. I'm actually drinking water too. I don't know what's going on.
I got two
with
bottles.
us. We're
I
not
I
drinking
am
right
as
now.
well.
Jim, new year, new me.
New year, new me. I gotta work out after this, actually.
Well, speaking about
I gotta not show up to work hungover for a little while.
New year, new me. There's a new team, new me. Francisco Lindor headed over to the Mets. First off, I want to ask you guys, how shocking was it that this happened? I mean, Lindor to the Mets. Is there a shock factor here? I was.
Shocked that he went to the Mets, maybe, but shocked that it happened. I'm more shocked that it didn't happen 2 years ago.
Why?
The Cleveland's been talking about trying to deal him since
Oh,
he basically broke into the league. They've been talking about trying to deal him, so I'm more shocked that he went to the Mets. But I mean, with Cohen coming in, they seem like they're actually trying to win, and it kind of sucks as a Pirates fan because there's another team that's just going to be above you because there's another team that can spend money.
Right. Which, by the way, Hank entered the stream. He said hi. Hi, Hank.
Howdy, Hank. Hope you're feeling good.
Hey, Hank.
We got a comment from Weenies2K, first time caller. How does the Lindor trade affect all of your horrible facial hair? I'll hang up. Is that Bucko Mike in disguise?
That would be Bucko Mike.
That's got to be a Bucko Mike like doppelganger.
We found his burner, one of them.
The Lindor trade does not affect my facial hair one bit.
No.
But to kind of piggyback on what Tyler said, the Mets are a good landing spot for Lindor because they're obviously in this very win now mode, it seems like, and they are willing to spend the money. So I would expect that this trade will eventually turn into an extension for Lindor. And we could see Francisco Lindor as the shortstop for the Mets for the next decade. So I am a little surprised that the Mets were the trade partner, though, because not a super strong farm system.
Not a super strong return either.
Yeah, not a super strong return. I would have expected a little bit more, even though it's still only for just 1 year of Lindor. Mm-hmm. We're talking about 1 year of arguably the best shortstop in baseball, easily top 3 and definitely like a top 10 player in the league. We're talking about an elite player here. And he got traded for decent players.
Dude, but
yeah, like Jimenez is fine. He's good, and he'll be the shortstop of the future for the Indians. But he's no Lindor. He's not like an impact talent. I feel like that's one thing that they missed here is they got a bunch of guys who are have some talent, but none of these guys are like impact guys, high upside guys. Where I feel like that's something that they could have gotten for Francisco Lindor. Definitely, if they would have traded him last offseason, they would have been able to probably get that. But I also give them a little bit of I'm not going to give them credit because we'll go into the reason why I won't give them credit. They should have never made this deal in the first place. But they did hold on to him because they were in contention. So at least they weren't like, hey, let's just deal him now, right? Because it's inevitable, even though they, were in contention for, they were the best team in the American League Central probably the past 2 or 3 years, arguably. And so I think that's the reason why they didn't move him earlier. But yeah, it's surprising. I think it's a sad day for just the sport in general when you see superstars like this get traded. Like I said, it sucks for Cleveland fans. I feel bad for them. I mean, Lindor's a guy that they probably were hoping they could watch for a while.
Jim said he feels bad for Cleveland fans.
I feel
Screw
bad
them.
for Cleveland
Tyler,
fans, but I know
how do you feel?
I know
about
how
them,
they
Tyler?
feel though. I know how they feel though.
You know what? I woke up in a bad mood today, and then I saw Cleveland fans upset. Suddenly, my mood just changed. I couldn't tell you what happened, but
So
my mood just flipped.
I have nothing against Indians fans, and honestly,
Cleveland
even
fans.
and even Browns fans, like they're
I have
irrelevant.
everything against them.
So I have no real opinion on them. I don't have to interact with them ever. I could see you living in Ohio. You interact with Browns fans on a daily basis. I can't tell you the last time I met a Cleveland Browns fan. I honestly don't know if one exists. I've never met one in my life. They're unicorns to me. So they don't really. I don't have this deep hatred for Cleveland fans because I've never really talked to one before.
Unicorns.
I mean,
too. You mean kind of like a Lamar Jackson decent pass?
DiNardo, you know what's strange here is that he has never met a Cleveland fan, but if you dig deep, Jim really is a Cleveland fan because he's a Ravens fan, and you know who they are.
Right. He's
Definitely
trying to pretend,
not.
He's a Steeler fan, but we all know deep down you're really a
Ravens fan. Definitely not a Ravens fan.
No, but Jim said that Cleveland is irrelevant to him, but they're Browns fans are irrelevant to me as well. But I am like Cersei Lannister. They're all peasants to me, but I still don't want anything good to happen to them. I want to maintain my throne up here. And then if that dragon comes in and burns them, I'm going to live for it. It could burn me too. They all die with it. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, we've heard that quite a few times. So I was waiting for it. But honestly, like back to this trade, really, man, I mean, again, like, right. The Mets don't have a strong farm system, right? Which, I mean, really is irrelevant. If it matches up, it matches up. You don't have to say we'll not trade for the Mets. We'll not trade for the Angels. We'll not trade for these certain teams because their farms aren't good. There's still players there. And if it matches up, it matches up. But I'm with you. Like you have Lindor. He's not a Mookie Betts, but like let's compare this to like last year where the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers, right? You're talking about a superstar type player. The Red Sox were able to get a very good return. Think about it. That's a much better return than this. And I feel as if, I mean, what happened here? It was light, but also, I mean, what did the Indians do? Well, they also package in Carrasco with her. Let's get rid of his contract also, right? They went the cheap route, right? We want to dump his salary. Let's get that out of here. So we'll take a lesser return. That's how I felt. I mean, they probably could have got a better package if they just dealt Lindor. But they added like Carrasco in it. And that's how I look at the Mets. And I'm like, well, the Mets can afford both of them. Not only did they get Lindor, who's this impact superstar player, who, like Jim said, they could sign long-term. They got Carrasco. Carrasco signed through 2022 with a team option in 23. $12 million each year for the Mets and what they're trying to do. And to add another pitcher of that caliber as well, like they can afford that. The Mets, to me, made out very fine in this. Very, very fine.
DiNardo, you made a really good point there with the Carrasco part that I think everyone kind of forgets about when we talk about this trade. Carrasco's a dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Carrasco could go get Ahmed Rosario plus some himself.
True. Like, I understand
you look at the last,
and then they threw in maybe the best
season
shortstop.
Was pretty bad, but he came back this year and looked strong again. I mean, for a few
the
years
guy
there,
had cancer.
He was like a 5'4" pitcher.
So yeah,
right.
I mean, 2019 he had cancer, came back in 2020, had an awesome 2020. But you look at his 2017, his 2018, his two full seasons prior to being diagnosed with cancer, he was a stud. Like he was really good.
We're not talking about a number 5 starter here.
No, we're talking about a top of the rotation guy. And he looked like that again last year. So
right. And they already have DeGrom.
Yeah.
Syndergaard's coming back from Tommy John. Like this gives him that protection. Like he is already a good pitcher. So now Syndergaard, I mean, he comes in and slides in as their number 3. If he can give him the talent that he has had in the past, not only are you getting Francisco Lindor as this stud shortstop, But now that rotation, that pitching used to be a strength. That pitching can now also be a strength once again.
You drop a Carrasco, you drop a Syndergaard, you drop a DeGrom. You also got Stroman in there.
Yes.
Yep.
No,
I mean, looking at this,
they're
Mets
building
team,
something.
This Mets team is good. I mean, that NL East. I going into this year, I would have thought it was probably the Braves to lose. But the Mets have made up some real ground this offseason, and they are a good team, and they've got some young talent. They've got a core in place, and they've got the money to spend on the superstars like this. I fully expect Lindor to sign an extension now. The Mets now have that leg up where they can negotiate with him one-on-one, not have to worry about other teams offering him anything.
Right. And I think about this guy's now in New York.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you want to talk about marketability? Yeah. The guy's now in New York. I don't know Francisco Lindor personally, but he's going from Cleveland to New York. Sign me up. Like, I'll sign. You know what I mean? It's not going to take much for me to sign this extension here. I'm good.
I'm just waiting on him to go out there and get Bauer.
Right.
And again, it's
or Springer.
I love Francisco Lindor. I mean, he's a great guy. Watching him play is so much fun. He's excellent defensively, and then the bat is just, you typically don't see that sort of production out of the shortstop position, and he can do it. So yeah, if you're a Mets fan right now, you're looking at what has happened this offseason, and you are giddy with excitement. Like, you want this 2021 season to start as soon as possible, because they have put something together.
And the weird thing is, I don't think I've ever been happy for a New York team in my life, but the way that the Mets have had to play
the Giants or the Patriots.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Twice.
Fair. Fair. Okay. But other than that, I don't think I've ever felt good for a New York team. But the way they've had to play little brother to the Yankees all the time, and they have their ownership group has treated them as a middle market team to a small market team at times. They finally got something going their way, and maybe it's just my hatred for the Yankees, but I'm all right with the Mets being the king of New York for a little bit.
I don't know if this puts them as king, but what I will say is it's no longer big brother, little brother. Like, you now have two formidable teams in New York battling out AL, NL. Like, this is a legit. It's kind of exciting.
Big brother.
When's the last time?
Big brother just came back from college, and now he's 6'5", 220.
Right. But like, think about it. Like, in LA, when's the last time that the Angels and Dodgers were both like really, really good?
Right.
When's the last time the White Sox and Cubs were really, really good? And obviously in New York. So, like, you have two powerhouses in the same city right now.
Just what the MLB wants.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm sure Major League Baseball themselves, I mean, they're happy about this. They can market Lindor now. I mean, they're all about it, I'm sure.
DiNardo wasn't that cute. He said that they're going to market a player.
Oh, that's true. They should. They should
that's
market
funny.
him.
That Anchorman quote.
That was adorable, Jim.
Jim said a funny joke today. I wrote it down in my diary.
Lindor will be like 3 blocks away from the MLB Network studio. I'll never hear from him.
Right. They're just going to walk by. We don't even know who he is.
Right.
But let's pivot this. When we talk about the Mets, let's pivot this to the Indian side here. So once again, as you two both mentioned, it seemed like it was players, right? How Jim said they could have got an impact player. They didn't. They just got guys that are fine. The last time we really talked about the Indians on this show was the Clevenger deal, which also you would imagine could have landed an impact player, and it got them some fine guys as well. So they've traded Lindor, they traded Carrasco, and they traded Clevenger. What do they really have to show for it? I mean, a lot of stuff, right?
They got depth, but nothing of immediate impact. They got no they have no MVP caliber players now, whereas they just gave up. Well, I guess you could throw Bieber in there.
I mean, who does?
But as far as they gave up some premier talented guys, and they didn't get premier talent back. I think that's the important thing to realize here. They had 3 elite players that they've traded, and they didn't get elite players back. They got good stuff back, but not elite talent.
And I agree with that. Like, it's not like there's a bunch of crap. You know, there were decent players, but you would just think of those type of caliber players, you would get something of real good value there. You know, like a really solid prospect. You know, you got to really fight to get Clevenger. So we'll give you this, you know, this top guy. You know, and as mentioned, going back, like the Mookie Betts, like that was a really good deal for the Red Sox. Just 1 year of Betts as well. You had 1 year of Lindor here. I know he's not exactly the same, but to get this return, it's kind of rough. I don't know. Cleveland.
Oh, it's such a shame. I really hate to see this happen to such a great city like Cleveland.
Well, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if like is like someone like is Jose Ramirez next? Are they just going to go ahead and just blow up the entire thing, right? I mean, so Jose Ramirez, he does have some club options, you know, after this year, but the Cleveland Indians, as of right now, have no committed contracts after 2021. Not one. Right. So they've got club options for Jose Ramirez in 2022 and 2023. So I mean, is he now a guy who? I mean, if based on this trade, I don't know if the Indians are competing. Probably not. You know, they have a $40 million payroll. That's not really the
say
the
it
mark
again
of
for us,
competitive.
Jim. Say it again.
$40 million payroll now. Not really the mark of a competitive team. So I mean, at this point, do you deal Jose Ramirez? When is Shane Bieber going to go? I mean, Shane Bieber's still on his minimum contract, but one more year, Shane Bieber's in arbitration, and he's going to get paid. I don't know. I don't know where they're going.
And I think that's a good valid point, because it's like, are they looking at this? First off, it's very similar to the NL Central, like the NL everywhere, AL and NL Central, I should say, is very weak. It's very weak, right? And that's why I think Cleveland's been pretty, like you said, that's why they probably hung on to Lindor last year too, because it is so weak, and we have this opportunity. And again, now that being just 60 games, you know, too, let's go ahead and see what happens. But now at this point, I mean, it's still weak. I don't know if it's going to turn that quickly. I mean, obviously the Chicago White Sox are up there. Like, there's no way Cleveland's catching them right now. So are they maybe looking at this like the Twins are going to come down? It's still going to take some time for Detroit. They've gotten some major league talent back. You know, if not, they're close. Are they looking like maybe they can turn this around in like 2 years, or is one even too close? I don't know. But like you're saying, that at that point, Ramirez's options, you know, 23 is his last one. I just feel like you got to trade Ramirez, right? And if you've gotten a bunch of just players and just guys now, Ramirez and Bieber, like you say, are those chips where you can capitalize and get them impact players.
Right. And like you mentioned before, like these trades that they're making, they're not trading for 19 and 20-year-old single A players with upside. They're getting guys back who are already in the majors, you know, maybe just made the majors. Like, they're getting major league players back in these deals. Yeah, and that's exactly what they're getting back. And I mean, Ahmed Rosario is a former top prospect, right? Didn't really work out.
He's also 25 and in his 4th year.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. He's 25 now, but he does have a really strong pedigree. He had a nice 2019, great defensively. He's a good player. Same thing. Like I said, I feel like Jimenez is going to be a good player. So they got all these pieces that they can plug into their major league team that they won't suck. Like, the Indians aren't going to suck. This isn't a bad baseball team, but like, what are they doing? That's kind of the thing. Like, I don't know what they're doing. They're not paying anybody. They're clearly not trying to keep pace with the White Sox, let alone the Twins. So they're kind of just, they kind of remind me of what the Pirates have done the past 3 years, honestly.
Shocking how we're talking about that.
Before before this past year, the Pirates just kind of treaded water and hoped that they could break 500, and I don't know if that's going to do the job in the AL Central.
Traded away one of the best players at their position. Things of that nature that Jim's totally against.
Exactly.
Don't know how much more I got to lead into it.
We'll get there. I mean, do we want to do it now? Is this it?
No, I was going to say before you get to that, like, this is a great trade if we're talking about 3 years ago with Rosario. Like, if we look back and Rosario's 21 and number 10 in the Baseball America prospect rankings, but now we're in year 4 of him in the MLB, and his best offensive season is 100 WRC plus, great glove. But I mean, does anybody imagine him being anywhere near Lindor? No. Jimenez, I mean, it's a project. Like, I'm in Ohio, like Jim already mentioned. I've had to read everybody talk about the scouting reports on him. Well, if he fills into his body and if he's got quick hips and the power will come. He's 22. I mean, you're not coming across another Francisco Lindor. So it's well, I get it. He's got 1 year, man, but
yeah,
I'd rather boo or bust it.
That's what's interesting. Like, they got back these two middle infielders, right? And the Mets held on to probably the one guy that they would have rather held on to, which is Ronnie Mauricio. So the Mets didn't have to give up their top infield prospect. They dealt away their and they get Lindor. So who really even cares, right? So like they're giving away these young, talented middle infielders, but
they don't need them now, right? Exactly. They're useless to them now. Like, that's why, again, like on the Mets side, like, how is this not such a win for them?
There's I can't find a single bad thing on the Mets side of this deal. Like, even if we, Ahmed Rosario goes on to be a really good major league player, Andres Jimenez blossoms into, a nice ball player, right? Even if that happens, the Mets still got Francisco Lindor. Who cares? Like, who cares if you're a Mets fan, what these players they just gave up do? Because you just got Francisco Lindor. You're probably going to lock him up for a long time. So who cares?
And again, so going back to like why I'm shocked about the Mets. Part of it was I'm shocked because their farm isn't that great. They have money to spend, but even like out of Cohen's mouth, you got to build the team from the ground up. Like, I think he has that mentality. So I think I was kind of shocked at a trade like that type of a player like Lindor happened for the Mets, because I figured they'd want to keep a lot of more prospects in their system right now and just spend the money. So that way, like, they can kind of keep this going, get this team pretty elite, top to bottom, back to where they want to be. But then again, like you're saying, like when you look at the trade, you're like, well, I know it was a trade. I know they got rid of prospects and some of the farm, but honestly, if you can make that trade to get a Lindor, you do it. You do it every day of the week. And they did it. And I just like, again, so like part of me is just, was there no other team that was willing to part with more? I mean, are we in such a state that it's like the Indians needed to attach Carrasco to this, right? Because they were just so desperate to get rid of money.
I keep forgetting about that part.
But again, like they're just so desperate to get rid of money that they had to attach Carrasco for a deal for Lindor. And all these teams are balking except for the Mets. Like, the Mets really want to stand up and say, we'll take on that salary.
Yeah, and if you look at it, if you're a Mets fan, I mean, with Jimenez and Rosario, what is your best case scenario with these guys? They turn into Francisco Lindor, the guy you just got.
Mm-hmm.
That's your best case scenario with them.
I mean,
that is absolutely perfect.
Best.
Everything goes correct.
Right now. Less than that. Like, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, our best. How's this bite us in the ass? They turn into Francisco Lindor. Guess what? We got him. And Carrasco.
Bucko Mike made his appearance. Bucko Mike's back on. He's not on his burner account anymore. So he says, hello, Kenny Loggins the second and Tyler.
Yeah. Hey, Bucko Mike.
Yeah, guys.
No, so, I mean, going back, though, again, I think it's just disgusting the teams trade away once in a generation type talents like this. It's bad for their fan bases. It's bad for everybody. It's not bad for the Mets. So the large market teams, I guess it's good for. But as far as
the newly classified large market team, the New York Mets.
Yeah, those teams, it just sucks. Like it sucks that like being if you're a fan of the Cleveland Indians, you're probably not going to run into another talent like Francisco Lindor for another 10 or 20 years. Like being realistic here. And you had him. All you had to do to keep him was to pay him. That's all you got to do. You just had to pay him. And they didn't do it. Now they have a $40 million payroll.
Yeah, it sucks when, the guy is in his prime and you have to give him away. It's different if he's not in his prime and coming off 2 mediocre seasons and you have to trade him away for a guy that comes in and has like a 3-point something WAR and like a 130 WRC plus. You can live with that. You can't live with him being in his prime though.
Let's talk. So the thing is, we can easily spin this to, if we're talking to our fans and people are listening to this, right? Our fans, because we're so beloved.
Hey, we are the number 2 baseball podcast in all of Belgium.
Yes, everyone in Belgium listening to right now. All right, tune in.
Yeah.
So us Pirate fans, right? We're accustomed to this. We understand this because just some years ago, the Pirates traded Andrew McCutchen, who you could say was like our Francisco Lindor, right? Now, to Tyler's credit, we'll talk. He wasn't on the same level, but that face, that marketability, like that impact player, right? He was our best player in the past 20 years as well. As Jim said, you're not going to get that for another 20 years, right? So Lindor, Cutch, very comparable. Trade off Cutch, Indians trade off Lindor. Jim, it's actually almost the anniversary of that deal as well. January 15th is when Cutch was traded to the Giants. So today is January 7th, so a week from today. It's about. Andrew McCutchen was traded to the Giants, and I know Jim has some feelings on that, and I'll let you take the floor.
I hated the deal when it happened.
But you've been very vocal on. You've brought this back up on Twitter lately as well. So you've opened the wound here. I just want to start. You're the one who's opened.
No, you're right.
This wound.
You're right. I talk about it quite often. I hated it when it happened. I hated it even in 2018 when it seemed like it was a good baseball move when Brian Reynolds was actually it was 2019. 2018, nothing really happened. Kyle Crick was on the team and he was fine. 2019 obviously Brian Reynolds debuted, looked like he was going to be good. Clearly not on a Cutch MVP level good, but it seemed like he was going to be a good, solid outfielder for the Pirates for the foreseeable future. Still hated it then. And it just goes back to the whole, I want to be entertained when I'm watching baseball games. And so whenever a fan base gets a guy like Andrew McCutchen, I don't care if he's on his downside of his career. Like, it's not like Andrew McCutchen sucks now either. The 2020, if we're throwing 2020 out of the books because it was weird, 2019, he was kind of having a resurgence up until he got hurt. 2018, he was an above average hitter. He was well above average. 121 WRC plus in 2018, the first year he left the Pirates. 2019, 120 WRC plus. So it's not like Andrew McCutchen is bad anymore. Andrew McCutchen isn't an MVP anymore, but he's still a good, solid major league player. And I would rather him be on the Pirates and being a good, solid major league player than being on another team, seeing him do all these things that we would love to see him do here if he were a Pirate, He clearly loves the city of Pittsburgh. And I think that's kind of where it comes back to, is just, we're not talking about just a guy on our baseball team. Like, the Pittsburgh Pirates are a member of the Pittsburgh community, and the members on the players on the Pittsburgh Pirates, become members of this community. And there's a bond there that they share. And McCutchen and Pittsburgh clearly have this connection. And the Pirates broke them up. I mean, that's what happened. The Pirates broke up that connection.
Not you, Andrew. It's me.
Right. And I mean, he named his son Steele. Like, that's like, Andrew McCutchen is a Yinzer. Like, he named his kid after the
and that
city.
was after he was traded too. Let's also say that. Like, this wasn't when he was in Pittsburgh.
So it's one of those things where it's sometimes it's more than just, hey, he's not an MVP player anymore, we need to trade him while there's still value. Some of it's just, hey, there's clearly something here between him and our fan base. Let's keep this guy around. And like, same thing with, like I said, if we're comparing this to Lindor, Francisco Lindor is not going to be the best shortstop in baseball for the next 15 years, right? But he's going to be one of the best but one of the best shortstops in baseball for the next 5 years, probably. And yeah, he may want a 10-year deal, and you're not going to sign him unless you give him a 10-year deal. But you're paying the back end of that contract for just keeping him around and appeasing. Like, you don't want to make moves to appease your fan base. I'm not saying that, but there's only so many times, and we've seen this with Pirates fans. There's clearly a breach of trust that Pirates fans have with the organization. You'll never convince me that Pittsburgh's not a baseball town. Pittsburgh's just a town that doesn't trust their baseball team, because their team has broken that trust numerous times, over and over and over again. Every time the Pirates have somebody who this city gravitates to, they trade them, right? And that's just how it's been. At some point, you gotta just keep somebody around. Like, when was the last time? When we haven't had a Pirate for life. Who was the last Pirate for life?
Novoroskis.
So, like, I mean, and I guess free agency's different now. Free agency's different now. Baseball's different than any other sport. You can tell me these things over and over and over again. I understand the economics of baseball, but at some point in time, you can't just keep kicking your fan base in the nuts over and over and over and over again and expect them to reward you with their attention and their dollars, and their time and their effort. And I think, the Pirates fans are fed up. I mean, clearly based off of attendance, right? Cleveland fans are fed up. So it's sad to see, because I mean, I feel like everybody should be able to kind of have that face of the franchise every now and then, that they can be like, hey, yeah, that guy's a Pirate, or that guy's an Indian, right? Whatever fan of a team you are, you should be able to have that guy. And rent.
Cool. So are you done with this love fest?
Done with the love fest.
All right, good.
Just so everyone knows, my God, I had to sit here and listen to this group chat all freaking day while I actually worked, and both of them just went back and forth about Andrew McCutchen for a little while, and I told them just stop and save it for the damn show. So now I'm mediating and just letting them go and go and go, and probably go some more, and it'll probably lead into Starbucks.
Special Friday version.
Maybe, yeah. So this is my issue, Jim, because I think, and I'll put it out there, we're going to peek behind the curtain and no thing's sacred. You more or less said, hand him a blank check, right? Like, your thought, and I'm going to be a little facetious on that, but more or less your thought was, whatever it takes to keep Andrew McCutchen here for his career, do, right? And that's your mindset of this, right? Where you're at?
Exactly. Yep.
So, but at the same time, you're talking about the GM. Isn't your role and job as a GM to put your team in the best situation?
Yep.
Okay. So let's get economics out of here just also completely. Is it going to be smart to give someone like Andrew McCutchen just a lifetime
I
deal
don't-
just because he's Andrew McCutchen? If you're also trying
Time
to
out,
compete.
DiNardo. You can't throw economics out the window.
No.
Like, that's a big part
It's
of
coming
this.
back. It's coming back. But at this point in time, is it smart to just say, especially for a guy who has already trended, right? I know what you're saying, Jim. He was not a terrible player. And I get that. And I do think he gets too much hate. I think once the trade happened, a lot of people turned on Andrew McCutchen and said, well, he's so bad. And I don't want to get that out there. And I try to make a point too. Like, I still support him. I still love Andrew McCutchen. He's a great guy, great person, but he's also still a good player. He wasn't trash. He had a very, very bad year, an extremely bad year in 16, which of course was one of the biggest reasons why the Pirates did not do well in 16, because he, along with other players, had really bad years. But since then, he has produced good years, right? But regardless, with those good years, are you willing to give someone who's, especially the defense declining as much as it has, right? Are you willing to give someone like that just a lifetime deal? We're not talking about someone who like Mike Trout, who is still in his prime, but still just raking. Are you saying we need to compete for the next 10 years and I'm going to do it knowing I have Andrew McCutchen getting $30 million a year?
So I guess it goes back to, you wouldn't be giving him $30 million a year because he isn't worth $30 million a year. But Andrew McCutchen signed a 3-year, $50 million deal with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
That's $16.5 million a year. Are you saying that the Pirates couldn't do that? If the Pirates had Andrew McCutchen on their team right now with that exact contract, they would have roughly a $60 million payroll.
Gotcha there, DiNardo.
Do we know what was he wanting though for the extension? Because what he got in the free agency is different from what he was wanting in the extension. He was wanting, and I know it wasn't 30.
I can't imagine it's
30. I know it wasn't 30.
I
He was
can't
wanting
imagine
over
it's
100 million.
More than that. I guess we'll never know, honestly. But
Okay, and that's fair.
Okay,
We'll never
now
know.
in Jim's defense here, what's the worst that happens if you just don't trade him? He ends up with that 3-year, $50 million contract. You can't offer that?
You can. But is there also not a better way to spend that $50 million?
the problem is that they aren't spending it anyways.
But that's a different story. That's a different. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
It is a different story, but
it's all part of this.
That's fair.
It's all part of the same story. Like, they could be giving $16 million to Andrew McCutchen. They decided not to. That's it. Like, it's that simple.
All right. So now I do want to bring the economics into this. Okay.
Oh, now he does.
So now I want to bring the economics into this because me and you are on the same page. You're much more vocal about this, and I get it. But yes, owners can spend money. Nothing is cheap, right? So it's on the owners. It's on the structure of MLB as well. Both play a hand in it. And I think I'll say your statement as well for you, Jim, and because I'm on board. Right? I think you mentioned something too, like the owners are what made it. So it's the owners in both ways, right? The owners created the system and they're playing the system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fair. So the Pirates are a smaller market team. The Pirates do play cheaper. If the Pirates did go ahead and sign him to a lifetime deal, okay? Right now we're in the rebuild. And then we'll be coming up and playing and trying to compete. And now we have Andrew McCutchen contract. It's like the Cincinnati Reds all over again. Right now you got to fight with this contract. And what do you do? The Cincinnati Reds decided, well, we can't go into a full rebuild because Votto's going to be completely washed up by the time we're ready. So we got to speed this up. And you become the Cincinnati Reds who just make some crazy type of moves that don't really make sense, but it's because they're so worked up and trying to be competitive so quickly again to be a productive team, and it's just a mess. And I just feel like that's what you get if you do that. Like there's you can point to the Detroit Tigers, like they might be wishing they didn't have Miggy on the team right now because that would help them currently at this point in time. You know, the Reds would currently be better off if they didn't have Votto. And like I think the same thing would be said for a Cutch. Like if Cutch was here, he would be the burden on this rebuild, which does suck by the way, but it'd be even more of a burden. right?
And I just completely disagree with you. No, I mean, I think you're way off. The Cincinnati Reds payroll right now, as it stands for 2021, is $109 million. $109 million. It's $70 million more than the Pirates. We're not talking about the Dodgers. We're not talking about even the
let's be fair though too.
Cardinals.
The Pirates have bottomed out. They're at the beginning part of the rebuild, where the Reds are supposedly at their portion where they're competing.
Do we want to look at the Reds payroll over the course of 5 years?
I feel like it's been a 109.
Well, no,
and
that's what I'm getting
years.
at. We don't, because it's not fair to, because the Reds have never bottomed out because of Votto.
You know, they don't have to. Like,
well, you say they didn't have to, but it hadn't gotten them anywhere, right? They've been terrible through and through.
Well, they've made bad
terrible
moves.
To average through and through.
Right. If the Pirates over the course of this last decade had payrolls roughly around $110 million with the core of players that they've had at their disposal, they wouldn't have been terrible. Like, imagine if you would have added. Imagine if you just had an extra $30 million in 2013 or 2014 or 2015. Maybe, they had 98 wins in 2015, right? What if they spent an extra $10 million? Could they win one or two more games? And instead of playing, instead of running into a buzzsaw in the wild card, maybe you win a division and you get a home advantage in a series. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not like I said, 16. We're talking about $16 million for somebody on a team that has a payroll of $45 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about like Andrew McCutchen's going to handcuff this franchise. That's the problem right now is no deal that the Pirates signed. The Pirates could have gone out and signed Manny Machado for $30 million a year, and their payroll would be about $75 million right now.
I mean, I get that, Jim, but still, if they did that, they're winning 67 wins right now.
Oh, I'm not arguing that, but would you rather win 67 games and watch Manny Machado,
$60
or would you rather
or so, to even get there and start talking?
Okay.
Yes, but to be fair,
I guess the point is they should be doing that. Like, until they can prove to me that they aren't actually capable of it, I just honestly, I don't believe them. I don't believe that the Pirates can't consistently have $100 million payroll. If the Cincinnati Reds can consistently have payrolls over $100 million, so can the Pirates.
And to be fair, you mentioning Manny Machado takes them to $75 million. If this team was run correctly, they should add another $30 million to the payroll. They're at 105. Like, we're not talking about something outrageous here.
And I agree.
We're at 95.
I'm not saying you used to go out there and have a $200 million payroll. I'm saying you should have a $100 million payroll. Like, it's embarrassing that the Cincinnati Reds have have $70 million more in payroll expenses than the Pirates. It's embarrassing.
They also didn't give up Meadows and Glass now.
Right. Ideally, my thing, and Ryan had a little take on this as well, and that's where I'm at. Where the Pirates messed up
Ryan
was holding on to Cutch too long. Because I look, and of course, everything's, as Cam Newton likes to say, 50-50 in hindsight. When you look in hindsight, it's 2020, right? But if they traded him at the correct time and say it was just Giolito, something else, right? It wasn't Robles, whatever. Just Giolito and another piece. Maybe even Dunning, right? The Pirates are now on pace. You're probably keeping Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, Shane Baz. You're not making that deal because you don't need to, right? Like, this is a whole better situation. They're probably competing right now. That didn't happen. Like, where they screwed up actually was they hung on to him too long, lost value, and there you go. Kind of almost like the Indians right now. Like, I get why they did it, but had they traded Lindor a year ago, they probably could have got more of an impact player, and they're competing again. To me, winning ultimately matters. The Rays do it to an extreme that it gets annoying. And I can get where fan bases get annoying. But if you're going to tell me that I don't get to watch I have to sacrifice watching Joey Votto be a Red for his entire career, right? But go to the ballpark and not really have any hope for much because we're just going to be kind of right? We're the 8-8 Miami Dolphins like every single year, just meh, right? There's no hope. You're not going anywhere. You're not bad enough to get a good draft pick and get better. You're just there. But great, I get to watch Joey Votto. I don't really care about that. Give me a good team. If I can trade Joey Votto right now, trade Joey Votto. Let me get a damn good team again. Let me have some hope. Let me get excited. Go to the ballpark and have some hopes of really making a playoff push. They had some hopes in the offseason, right? They became the Cleveland Browns. They're the offseason champions a few years back when everyone was crowning them the NL champs, but it didn't go well. And I just feel like, hanging on to Andrew McCutchen, you give him that deal. We want to talk about economics. My thing about it is I agree that teams can spend more, small markets can spend more. Like there's no reason that the Pirates should have a $40 million. They can't afford it to be higher. But my thing is too, like if all the small markets just had this uprise and all the markets like, screw this, we're going to spend more money. We're going to get these players. Like you can't tell me that the larger markets aren't going to laugh and say, well, then fine, we're going to spend more money too. Again, like I keep talking and praising, when the Yankees are spending $200 million, right, but their revenue is supposedly $600, $700 million a year, they're as cheap as the Pirates are. They're as cheap as the Pirates are. I don't care how much money want to talk to me that they do spend. They're still as cheap. So the Pirates are going to come out and say, we're going to spend 150, right? And the Reds come out and say, we're going to spend 150. Tell me the Yankees are going to come out and say, well, we're still going to take your players because we still have more buying power.
Calm down, Billy Bean. I feel like I'm reading Moneyball right now.
But that's what I'm getting at. And that's why Moneyball became a thing. You can't play the same game. So even if you want to keep Cutch, fine. Now he's this burden, and now you're going to say we're going to spend more money on these other players, but there's still the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Angels and the Cubs are still taking them because you're going to give and you're going to extend and say, well, I know we're a small market, but now we're spending 150, but 150 isn't good enough because we're giving 10 years, $300 million, and the Red Sox come in and said, fine, we'll give you 10 years, 350, and it's nothing to them, and you still lose out. So that's why, I get the whole smart market thing, and teams can spend more. But even if they did, all the larger teams can also spend more.
I feel like we're having
and all the owners are just comfortable
right
knowing that they're all going to get
doing
money.
A terrible job mediating, Tyler.
And that's why we have baseball to where it's at, because every owner is comfortable. The Yankees can get their money. The Pirates can get their money. Pirates play a role. We'll play a role. We're all in this together. Let's make some money.
All right, shut the hell up. We're having 4 different arguments right now. DiNardo's talking about Moneyball, where we all need to trade our players and work in a small margin.
That's why it doesn't make sense to make these players
I said shut the hell
lifetime
up.
players.
Jim's over here talking about Andrew McCutchen, that the Pirates could have signed him for 3 years, $50 million, which is completely different than the Francisco Lindor situation because Francisco Lindor is a lot younger and coming off a very good season, and he's MVP caliber still.
Well, Jim also changed his stance. He said lifetime contract. I just want to point that out once again. Then he wants to come out with this 3-year, $50 million. He told me give him a blank check and give him a lifetime contract.
How many times do I got to say shut the hell up?
Realistically, you're not handing the guy the blank check, but you are paying him his fair market value.
DiNardo is playing it as basically F your feelings. Winning solves everything. Which is absolutely correct.
Up, man.
The reason why the difference is,
Jim, you shut up too.
Between these two, Lindor and McCutchen. McCutchen, the Pirates did lock up McCutchen to that first deal, right? So what that ended up doing is instead of Andrew McCutchen becoming a free agent, when Lindor is becoming a free agent, he was older, right? So that was a huge part in McCutchen not being dealt in 2014 or 2015, because that would have probably happened. But thank God, they were able to lock him up a little bit longer. The Indians weren't able to do that with Lindor. So it is it's a different situation. Lindor is 27 years old. Like Lindor's next contract is going to be $250 million or higher, most likely.
Huge.
Whereas McCutchen was never going to be in that ballpark because of his age.
Yes, so we are having 4 different arguments at one time right now. because we are arguing about whether the Pirates can afford $30 million per year. DiNardo's over here saying that doesn't matter if they can afford $30 million extra per year, which actually does matter because you cannot tell me that extra $10 million in 2015 would not have made a difference when I had to go out there and watch Jeff Locke and RIP Charlie Morton.
Well,
I know you got much better, but
I think you're misconstruing my argument here, though, too. I'm not debating that, though.
but you
Well,
kind of
I
are,
mean,
whatever you're saying.
Saying
It doesn't
add
matter
$10
what
million
they spend.
onto the payroll to me is different than just saying make this guy a lifetime player. We're talking about Cutch in his prime.
That's not really what Jim is saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not saying
just
you
saying
give
just
him a 20-year,
have it.
$400
You got to
million
make these
deal.
guys lifetime players. The Reds did that with Joey Votto. What's it gotten them?
I'm saying you pay them what they are worth on the open market so that they don't leave. That's what I'm saying. Joey Votto, when he signed his deal, was younger. That's what the going rate for him was. He was coming off MVP seasons. He's an elite on base guy. He's like one good year away from being a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
And the Reds did a poor job of building around him. They just did not do it.
That's exactly right. It's not like the Reds were hampered by the contract. They're paying Mike Moustakas $14 million to play second base, not even a position that he's playing. So that's the problem with the Reds. They're throwing this money at people, and it's just not working out. It's not like the Votto deal is causing them to not be able to do these things. They're paying Eugenio Suarez $10 million this year. They're paying Moustakas $14 million. They're paying, going through their lineup here, Sonny Gray is making over $10 million. They're paying did I say Castellanos? No, Castellanos is getting paid $14 million. Shogo Akiyama is being paid $7 million. They signed him out of Japan. The guy can't hit. Like, he's just a defensive specialist. It's a 33-year-old defensive specialist, and they signed him for $7 million. So it's not that the Reds, like, the Votto deal isn't the problem for the Reds. The problem for the Reds is they're spending all their other money just on trash. Like, that's the problem, and that's why they haven't been good.
And they haven't drafted a player worth a damn in like 10 years.
Outside pitching, their pitching has been good. You know, their pitching is good, but as far as like have they
really drafted good pitching though?
That's what I'm saying. They've not drafted
it. I mean, Luis Castillo was developed, I believe, and then
developed. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was still mainly with the Marlins though.
Yeah. I mean, Amir Garrett. I think that's one of the guys. Michael Lorenzen.
But
so
these are not guys though. Like, these are major leaguers, but they're not guys.
Right.
They did a poor job of building around a guy like Joey Votto. Once again, I'm going to up it to like 7 different arguments we're having right now.
Uncle Mike, come on in. Let's make it 8 arguments.
Yeah. But like I said, that is the issue with the Reds. They're paying Joey Votto $25 million. That hasn't hampered them from going out there and getting players to build around him. They're just not doing a very, very good job of it.
I don't know, guys. I'm torn because, again, I understand and I do believe that all these owners can spend more. They're cheap, but in other sense, I do also understand that there is a real economic thing. I mean, it's the fact that New York makes way more money than Miami, and I just like go back and think too. Like had Miami, I know it's not the same thing. It's not locking up their homegrown talent, but it's like had Miami signed and gotten Albert Pujols, I just feel like that organization would be so crippled.
They're already crippled.
Exactly. And they're still paying Albert Pujols $30 million a year. You know, like, think about
they're crippled because they're morons. Same as the Pirates. They're crippled because they're morons.
No. The Marlins organization is much better right now. Back in the
Until
days.
they show me that they are not
but
morons.
Even like the Giancarlo Stanton.
You can't talk trash about DiNardo's TFL team.
Until you show me you're not a moron, you're a moron.
They made the playoffs.
I don't care about your TFL league.
I'm talking about
last year. The Marlins.
The Marlins made the playoffs.
Made the playoffs. They actually made the second round.
Care about the last year doesn't count to me.
They were like one game over 500.
I would say they made the playoffs and they didn't even start their season until like September.
They played like 20 games less than every other team. They made the playoffs. They were like 13-12.
Right. Oh God.
But yeah. So I just want to point that out though. Like the Reds haven't been like you keep saying the Reds are hampered. Reds are not hampered by the Votto deal whatsoever. They just have made poor decisions on the people around them.
I don't know. I just think it's fair to say, and if anything, as Pirates fans, we should recognize this, you know, and I'm one to also admit to it because I bought into the belief that you could sustain success. And I think it's fair to say with small market teams, there's windows. There's windows. You have to believe in the windows. And I just feel if you locked up Cutch, you'd have been on the downside while he's still in his prime, and you still have him on his downside when you're ready to compete. And that's like the Votto. That's why I explained with the Votto thing. They had to just keep it going instead of doing a rebuild, because had they done the rebuild, it would have been good on Votto's really, really downside, which, again, like in Detroit with Miggy, you know, like they're in a rebuild. They're starting to come up, but Miggy's...
See, that's a different animal.
Very, very bad right now. Like I'm sure they'd rather have Mickey off their club right now too.
That's a different animal.
But I don't hate the Mickey thing though. I will say I don't hate the Mickey thing because I understand there's a lot of bad deals, but that team was so good for so long. And Mickey deserved that money.
What I'm saying is if the Pirates would have just not traded Andrew McCutchen in the 2018 offseason,
they would
let him play 2018, keep him on. We'd be paying Andrew McCutchen $16 million right now. You'd have a $16 million option that you could choose to pick up next year if you wanted, or you could just sign him to like another 1-year deal. Let's say he doesn't play that well this year, and he's like, okay, you know what? Andrew McCutchen is now an $8 million player. Then you pay him $8 million. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just no, that's what I'm saying. Like, Andrew McCutchen at the time of the trade wasn't one of these players that you're going to give a 10-year, $300 million deal to. That's not who he was.
Would you rather have a 36-year-old Andrew McCutchen or a Lucas Giolito in his prime, ready to go? Like, that's the difference. That's how these small markets get a lot of this talent. Like, we're hampering the Indians because they didn't get really good, impactful players. Had they done that, like, wouldn't you rather the Indians have some really, really good, impactful players in 2023, 2024, opposed to now a 30, 31-year-old Lindor? You know, and that's what we're talking about. The trade-off is, okay, you just want to have Andrew McCutchen at 36-year-old, roam in your outfield because, it's Andrew McCutchen. I loved him. I have his jersey. I waved him one time. Or do you want to say, like, you know, hey, I got Lucas Giolito, who's, you know, vying for the Cy Young right now, and the Pirates are competing. Let me compete.
Option
just
3.
win,
well,
baby.
The Pirates wouldn't be competing. If the Pirates had Lucas Giolito, they'd still be terrible. And you know what they would do? You know what would be happening right now if Lucas Giolito were on the Pirates? He would be getting traded.
Or option 3 of having neither.
That's true.
And we get to watch Joe Musgrove.
Kyle Crick.
How about that, boys?
We get to see Kyle Crick. Kyle Crick's under team control for 4 more years, guys.
What a lovely debate.
Give us your thoughts, everyone who's listening. Chime in, tweet us, give us your thoughts. The sport sucks, the economics suck.
And that's
everything sucks.
Again, like, we agree on that. Like, the economics of the sport suck. It does. It's just the way it is.
And I totally get. I mean, like, you'll never see anyone go into the Hall of Fame with a Pirates hat. Just it's likely not going to happen. Probably the same with the Indians. Probably the same with the Marlins and then the Rays. And, you know, like, you're just not going to see it now. Like, you can't have a Ben Roethlisberger on these clubs anymore.
Well, you're not going to see it now because front offices are run by statisticians and nerds who realize that hey, it's a better baseball move for me to trade this guy who's a 4-win player who's I'm going to pay $15 million for. It's better for me to have a 2-win player that I can pay $400,000 for. Like that's essentially what it is. These front offices, they're designed to be efficient, as far as, find me the inefficiencies in the game, be as efficient as possible when it comes to payroll. There is a championship belt awarded at owners meetings for the owner who has the most wins per dollar spent, right? So like this is their goal.
So let's talk
not spend money.
Championship belt. Let's talk championship belt. All right. We'll get out of baseball. Let's get away from the nerds. Do you think Packer fans would have rather seen Brett Favre for 2 more seasons and then maybe trade away, Aaron Rodgers because it's Brett Favre and oh my God, it's a lifelong contract. We got to have Brett Favre at all costs. Or was it better they moved on from Brett Favre and came in Aaron Rodgers because you know what? They're still damn good. Like sometimes you just have to make the better decision, period.
So here's the difference there. The difference is that there's one quarterback on your team that you can play. You can only play one quarterback in the NFL. You can play more than one outfielder in baseball. You can have somebody on your team.
Fielder, Jim, and that's his spot.
You can have someone on your team who is a capable person that you give 250 at bats to towards the end of their career. Like that's not like why is that a bad thing? You're going to give those 250 at bats to Jose Osuna instead. I'd rather them be given to a 39-year-old Andrew McCutchen.
This whole argument comes down to the fact that the Pirates just suck and don't do anything well, and winning would cure all. But instead, we have this stupid argument.
That's my argument. Just win. Just win. Just win, baby. Winning cures everything.
You got Jim there. Would you rather see a 39-year-old Andrew McCutchen or Jose Osuna or watch the Pirates actually win?
I would love to see the Pirates win. I would love to see the Pirates.
Well, there we go. Then
what
win.
I'm saying is I don't think that they're like mutually exclusive. Like you can have a 39-year-old Andrew McCutchen and you can still win. That's my argument. It's not one or the other.
Well, here's the issue. They have neither.
Exactly.
It all comes back to the fact that this organization blows.
Oh, all we can do is cross our fingers and hope this rebuild goes smooth.
All we can do is cross our fingers that the Phillies don't pick up McCutchen's option and the Pirates can re-sign him.
I'll admit, I'm going to say again, like I said it, I would love to see Andrew McCutchen end his career in Pittsburgh somehow, some way. With a market deal,
like, what if
to be our fourth?
So let's say Andrew McCutchen has a 2.5, 3-win season this year, a good year, like a good enough year to establish himself that this guy still deserves to be a starting player in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, right? Basically what he is right now, right?
Yeah, let's say he is what he is, right? And the Phillies say, you know what, that's good and all, but we're not going to pay you $16.5 million. Andrew McCutchen's a free agent. Right. Well, you're probably still looking at a guy who's maybe like $8 million or so. All for the Pirates throwing out like a 3-year, $25 million deal.
I'm okay with that. I mean, it's down to the roster construction. That's not going to really hurt them. I think where I was led to believe with this argument, because you keep throwing out like these 3 years, like these market deals, I just led to you give him a lifetime contract, you sign him long term, and had you done that, he's not making $8 million like in those next years. You got the Votto contract where you're making like 30 a season, and eventually when you become a one-more player as a fourth outfielder and a possible DH, can't give you $30 million to do that. A la Miggy and Braun and Votto, these guys that I'm referencing to, thinking of, you're my homegrown talent. Let's give you this lifetime per se contract.
Okay. So when I said lifetime deal with the blank check, that was meant to be hyperbole a little bit.
Well,
so
I mean, I get the blank check, but like market value at that time. Like the Votto deal at that time, not like
But what I'm saying is
contracts for the
market
rest of our
value.
life.
Even McCutchen market value in 2018 wasn't that. Like, yeah, are we looking at maybe a 5-year, $100 million deal? I mean, that probably would have been within the realm of possibility.
125,
and I would have been fine with that. 125 was not going to happen ever.
Well, that's what it would have taken. That was what he wanted on his check. All right. I think we made some fair points here.
I think it is safe to say, though, that I definitely won the argument.
Tyler?
Save it for Starbucks, boys.
Save it for Starbucks. I'm going to need a Starbucks after this.
I think we have far too many.
You know what we didn't touch on, though? I mean, obviously, a lot of stuff happened today. And we talked about the Lindor deal a little bit. But what about the deal that just absolutely shook the baseball world?
Okay.
I'm talking Miguel Del Pozo.
Get back to those Tigers.
A Detroit Tiger. Once again. He was a Tiger before, right? Yeah.
I think so, right?
Yeah, Miguel Del Pozo. Tiger. Him and Miggy are going to lead the Tigers to.
But see what I'm talking about? Like the Tigers, right?
That's what they get stuck with because of Sam Miggy.
The damn Miggy contract, they're stuck with Miguel Del Pozo now. This is what happens.
Miguel Del
when you
Pozo
sign
was
those
also
deals.
never in the Tigers organization. So
who did he come from then?
He was a Marlin. He was a Marlin like for life. He lived.
Hold on.
He was a Jacksonville guy.
He was oh my God, he was. Oh, and then L.A. He was a Marlin? I don't remember that.
He sucks.
And he was in Jacksonville, yeah. I'm hyped, though. Just to put that out there, I'm hyped that Jacksonville's going to be their AAA team now. That excites me.
Are they going to be in the International League?
I don't remember.
I guess they wouldn't be in the Pacific Coast League. I wouldn't imagine. They're literally the Atlantic Coast. So the Pacific Coast League doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, especially the whole point of the realignment.
Yeah, I guess they're restructuring everything. I mean, because before there were just 2 AAA leagues. I think that's still staying the same. I think there's still just 2. So that would mean International League and Pacific Coast League. So I would guess the International League is where they would be. Which means you'll get to see Louisville.
I'll be honest.
You'll get to see Louisville now, if that's the case.
The only AAA team in Florida, so that's cool. All right. So Miguel Del Pozo is a Tiger. Yay.
That's a great thing to end on.
Actually, is kind of exciting news. He's not a Pirate.
All right. That is exciting.
So we out of here then?
I think so.
All right, boys. Well, we'll see y'all next week. Hold up. I'm getting a text from Geddes saying we don't acknowledge the chat. I haven't seen Geddes. He didn't put anything in the chat.
No one's chatting anything other than
Bucko Mike.
I need to wipe the dirt off my face.
Unless Geddes is yelling at us for not acknowledging Bucko Mike.
That's most likely what it is.
So if we have to, then yes, Rosati needs to wipe the dirt off his face.
Maybe I can do that with the help of Manscaped.
Sure. Manscaped, 40% off. With code NS9.
Is that still a thing?
So it's up there right now. There you go, Bucko Mike. I'll tell you what.
Bucko Mike can have some manscaping done.
You buy some Manscaped, Bucko Mike, and you can shave Rosati's face.
I'm not agreeing to that deal.
Too bad. It's already done. All right. We're out of here. We'll see y'all guys later. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Later.